Hello, it's Papa G, and today I'm going to do something I don't normally do and give away one of my secrets, which I'm going to show you how I make chicken foot amulets, or some people call them chicken foot talismans. So you actually buy these dried chicken feet. They're sold like as dog chews, but make sure when you get them, look for ones that have the fingernails on them, because the fingernails are important. Chicken feet are used in folk magic and most of the time hoodoo to actually scratch someone for protection, or you scratch down something. Chicken often scratch up bugs. It can also bring things to you by scratching it. So the first thing you want to do is prime them. You'll need to put some sort of primer paint on them, and then I put acrylic paint over the top of that. Now these are some I did. I had primed them first and then got some gold spray paint. I did them in several different colors. This was sort of I did golds and blacks and reds, some blues. You can see here I've actually painted the toenail. So that's a big thing, is to paint the toenails of the chicken feet. So they're very predominant because that's the that's the main thing that's really doing the it makes like a scary look, a protective look. They are meant to be hung on at your doorway. A lot of people hang them on the outside of the doorway because it's a warning to people, like, hey, this place is protected. Or they hang them in their cars to let people know, don't break into this car. So I do use a lot of hot glue on this. I check the length of the leg and figure out which feather is going to be the best, sort of what the predominant first feather I want everything to see, and put a good amount of hot glue on there. Hot glue doesn't stay on many crafting items, but on these, it's going to be bound with the twine after it's glued. So I've never had a problem with them not staying. And of course, be careful. Hot glue's hot. Yeah, I start with that first feather to actually decide what is this one going to look like. What's the first one? And I do a mixture of different feathers. Some are very straight, some are fuzzy, some are small. So it's about mixing different textures. Now I've seen many people make these where they don't paint the feet at all. Sometimes they will simply seal them somehow with a varnish or a shellac or something. And a lot of people don't put feathers on the way I do. They simply put a cap on the end of the foot. So this one I decided I'm going to do red, gold, and black. And I just keep going around it, placing each feather until I get a final look that I'm really going for. Now, I do make these for people. You can find them on my website, folkmagicstudio.com. And also plan to put them on my Etsy shop as well. They're also sold in the Aroma G's Botanica store. So you can see there's really no way to make any two exactly alike. They're all going to end up different. See, sometimes I take advantage of the fact that there's already wet glue right there and put a couple of them on. A lot of people say that chicken feet are used in voodoo. I haven't really found that to be completely true. It's more like New Orleans voodoo or a New Orleans style hoodoo, which is it's a mixture of hoodoo and Haitian voodoo practices. So it's sort of its own unique thing. It's used a lot in hoodoo. It's used a lot in New Orleans magic. Like I said, they're really for protection and enemy work as a way of magically scratching that enemy. Many people use chicken feet as an anti-theft spell. That's why it's usually hung out in the open. So it sort of represents a threat of magical retaliation if you were to break into a house, break into a car. It's this nonverbal means of communication in which a warning shot is sent to anyone who would be a would-be thief to stay away from you, stay away from my place, or magic will harm you. So in these ways, chicken feet it's a powerful talisman where you keep them in place that are really visible to other people. You can see it's a long process. If you want to do it, very carefully, have them turn out, well crafted. It takes a little bit of time. It's not too difficult. You do have to have a little bit of an artist's eye to get them to turn out in a pleasing way. But like I said, a lot of people don't decorate them like this at all. I think I may go a little bit overboard in my decoration of them. Okay, so it looks like I've got most of the feathers on it that I want. So I put off a good amount of thread. You can also use yarn. A lot of people will just use twine. I've started using this colored twine recently, and I bought it in several different colors because I would actually sometimes go back. I would just buy the sisal twine, the brown boxing twine, and then sometimes go back and paint it. Other times I would leave it natural. But I just found this was a lot easier. It was already colored. You should leave a little bit of a tail on there. And I would tie the knot towards the front because this is where I eventually am going to hang a charm from. So I get that little bit of a tail out of the way, kind of hold it up in the feathers or tuck it in if you can so it doesn't get wound up in with the rest of it. And I do go ahead and put a little bit of glue because I don't want the twine to slip. I want it to actually stay in the place I have it. And usually I'll do it in several layers. Of course, those chicken feet, those toenails are wanting to scratch up the twine and get in the way sometimes. You have to sometimes make a big loop in order to get it all the way around. You can see it's giving me a little bit of hassle here. Because that's a pretty big chicken foot with the fingers extended, so they're sort of getting in the way. I just keep winding until sort of intuitively I know that it aesthetically looks good. It's bound everything in place, and I just kind of know, hey, that's enough. Stop what you're doing. Make sure that little tail piece is still out in the open. I'm going to pull it really tight. Bring it around and cut off a good piece so I can tie it to that tail piece. I gotta have a little more than I need to so I can wind it a little bit more really tightly until I end up back towards the front. I think that's pretty tight. Now what I'm going to do here, now you can do this before you begin winding the thread at all. As a matter of fact, I have begun doing it that way most recently, where I begin this process is I take some beading wire, make a little bit of a loop, twist the ends of it. We're going to do this so you can hang the chicken foot easily. I want it to be glued into place underneath the twine. So number one, it stays, and number two, you can't see the wire except for the loop. That's why I said it usually probably is best to put this part on before you begin looping any of the twine, and that way you know it's secure, you know it's hidden. Of course, glue, more glue, got to have the glue. I'm just going to use the glue down at the bottom where the tail of that is and leave the loop at the top on the back side of the chicken foot. And then just take that extra and begin to wind it around. All the way up to the front, and now I'm going to look for that little tail in that goes with the rest of it and bring them together. Sometimes I will tie it first. Other times I will put an charm on first and then tie it, and then maybe another one. It depends what the look is I'm going for, if I want more than one charm. This is a handmade charm, one I did made by hand with using polymer clay, and put some little design into it. And then I'm adding on the feng shui coin. So this one could possibly be to not only protect your house from theft, it can protect your house from poverty. It can actually help to bring money into the house. Number one, it's gold, the main colors of it, and it's got that coin on it. So there I tie it off really, really tight, sometimes 2 or 3 times, because I don't want that to come undone. And there I can see that the hanging metal is all in place. A little bit of a problem here. It looks like it might need to trim that off a bit or cover it. Sometimes you'll see where the glue sort of messed up a feather and you want to go back, and you can always add more to cover up a little snafu. Besides, the more layers, it seems like the prettier it gets. So I'm doing one, which my intention is to do one fading, leaning to the right. And of course, get rid of any parts. See that? It leaves a little bit of an ugly spot, especially when it's in the front. So we want to do whatever we can to cover it up. It actually looks a little bit worse on camera than it does in person. There's just this little fuzzy spot right there. But overall, the design is completely different than the chicken foot you see up at the top right. How it started. Now here, this is actually, it's not a regular pencil or pen. This is a knife pen. A little bit more precise than an X-Acto knife, where you can actually most of the time use it to cut out images on paper. But I'm using it to separate the twine so I can make it be more like fringe now that it's all tied off. Usually you start by untwirling it so you can give it these open gaps in between the threads and then put something in there. You can use a toothpick if you want to. I find that the knife pens make this frayed edge. And you can see that is how you make a Hoodoo chicken foot talisman or chicken foot amulet. And then all you have to do is let it dry and hang it up in your doorway, your car, gift it to someone who needs a little bit of protection. I hope you've enjoyed this. If it was a little too much for you, you can always buy them for me on my website.